What does justice mean when the law turns on its own guardian? Judge Amara Ellis stood at the steps of the Eldridge County Courthouse, her black robe fluttering in the autumn breeze. At 48, she was a pillar of the community, a black woman who had risen through a legal system that often seemed stacked against her. Her rulings were fair, her presence commanding. But on this crisp October morning in 2025, as she fumbled for her car keys after a long day on the bench, justice would betray her. The screech of tires broke her thoughts. A police cruiser pulled up, its lights flashing. Officer Daniel Hargrove, young and brash, stepped out, his hand resting on his holster. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle," he barked, eyeing her up and down. Amara frowned, her keys dangling in her hand. "This is my car," she said, her voice steady but laced with disbelief. The crowd outside the courthouse began to gather, whispers rippling through the air. Hargrove didn't listen. "Hands behind your back," he ordered, pulling out handcuffs. The cold metal clicked around her wrists before she could protest further. "You're under arrest for suspected vehicle theft." The accusation hit like a slap. Her car? The one she'd driven to this very courthouse for years. The crowd gasped, phones raised to capture the scene. Amara's heart pounded, not from fear, but from the surreal weight of humiliation. As Hargrove led her toward the cruiser, a voice cut through the murmurs. "Officer, stop." It was Lena Carter, a young law clerk who worked under Amara. Lena's eyes blazed with indignation, her phone already streaming the incident live on X. "That's Judge Ellis. She's not a thief, she's the one who upholds the law here." The crowd stirred, some shouting in agreement, others in confusion. Hargrove hesitated, his confidence wavering, but he doubled down. "I got a report of a stolen car matching this description," he said, avoiding Amara's piercing gaze. The twist came like a thunderclap. Lena stepped forward, holding up her phone. "Check the plates, officer. I just pulled the registration, it's hers. And I've got the whole thing recorded." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a wave of outrage building. Hargrove's face reddened as he radioed in the plate number. The dispatcher's response was swift. The car belonged to Amara Ellis. No theft, no crime, just a mistake, one that reeked of prejudice. The handcuffs came off, but the damage was done. Amara stood tall, rubbing her wrists, her eyes locked on Hargrove. "You saw a black woman in a nice car and assumed the worst," she said, her voice low but resonant. "You didn't even ask for my ID." Hargrove mumbled an apology, but it was hollow. The crowd was now a chorus of voices, some calling for his badge, others demanding justice for the judge. Inside, Amara was reeling. She'd spent decades fighting for fairness, only to be reduced to a suspect in front of her own courthouse. Yet she refused to let this moment define her. She turned to Lena, who was still shaking with adrenaline. "Thank you," Amara said softly. "You reminded me why I do this." Lena nodded, tears in her eyes. "You taught me to stand up, Judge." That evening, Amara sat in her office, the weight of the day pressing against her. She thought of her late father, a civil rights lawyer who'd told her, "The system isn't perfect, but you can make it better." She opened her laptop and began drafting a statement for the press. She wouldn't let Hargrove's mistake silence her. Instead, she'd use it to spark change training for officers, reforms for accountability. Her pain would become purpose. The next morning, her statement went viral on X, shared thousands of times. "Justice isn't blind," she wrote. "It's human, flawed, and in need of constant vigilance. Today, I was wronged, but tomorrow, we can do better." The community rallied, and Hargrove faced an investigation. Amara returned to her bench, her robe a symbol of resilience. She'd been knocked down, but she stood taller than ever. The law had failed her, but she would not fail the law.